Welcome back to the channel and welcome to the weekend wrap. Now there's not a huge amount to go over, so this shouldn't be a very long one, but yeah, everyone, as always, please like and subscribe. Almost at that second milestone of 250. I'm looking to hit that and then go from strength to strength. So yeah, like, subscribe, comment, notifications, all that good stuff. I appreciate it. Like I said, it's not a lot to get into, so let's go for it. So early hours of the morning, we saw the three belt unification match between Artur Beterbiev and Joe Smith Jr. Now, in my preview video, I pretty much said that the first couple rounds, 2 to 3, would be feeling out rounds. Both guys trying to just understand their range, trying to understand their distance, impose themselves a little bit just to sort of set the tempo for the fight. And that it would be fairly competitive with a chance of both guys ending up on the canvas, with ultimately Joe Smith Jr. being stopped around rounds 8 and 9. Yeah, they totally ripped up that script. There was no feeling out process whatsoever. Joe Smith Jr. came out extremely aggressive behind his jab in the first round. And it's funny because I said that Artur Beterbiev was tailor-made for Joe Smith Jr., but Joe Smith Jr. wasn't tailor-made for Artur Beterbiev, because Artur Beterbiev prefers a guy that will sort of box and move and try and you know, sort of try and stay on the outside so he can hunt them down and break them down slowly and ultimately sort of get them out of there, and he gets to work at his own pace. Whereas Joe Smith Jr. prefers someone that just comes right at you and sort of just stays in the booth and allows him to be able to get his shots off mid-range to long distance. He doesn't like to have to walk people down. Well, Artur Beterbiev decided for the first round pretty much to box on the back foot for the entirety of the round. They were both sort of pushing the jab out. You know, they both kind of connected with the jab on a few occasions, but Beterbiev he was boxing and moving. He was trying to find his range, and he was making Joe Smith Jr. follow him, which also meant that Joe Smith Jr. was going over. He was normally leaning over his lead foot, pushing out the jab, sometimes missing, and when he was trying to throw the right hand, sometimes he was falling off balance. And this was all Artur Beterbiev needed to basically set up certain shots. You know, the quick jab, sort of the inside left, the uppercut. Sometimes they even went into little sort of brawling tactics, but Joe Smith Jr., as I said in the previous video, his hooks are too wide. Everything takes too long to travel to the target, whereas Artur Beterbiev is a lot more straight, a lot more down the line, can come back to the chin a lot quicker. And that's basically what happened. Now there was a knockdown that was ruled a slip initially, which it did look like a bit of a slip, fair enough. But within, I think, 30 seconds of that, Artur Beterbiev caught Joe Smith Jr. lunging forward as he stepped back and caught him with a check right hook, which knocked Joe Smith Jr. into the ropes on the knee, and he got his first count. That concluded the end of the first round. And then in the second round, it was pretty much more of the same. Joe Smith Jr. decided to forget about the jab altogether and just started trying to wing overhand rights and just trying to throw power shots. This at that point suited Artur Beterbiev very well, because again, Joe Smith Jr. is very wide in the way that he moves and the way that he throws those punches. Artur was literally just catching him on the inside in between, and in the second, he managed to spin Joe Smith Jr. towards the ropes. He caught him with a straight right hand, which basically folded him into the ropes, which he almost fell through, creating the second official knockdown of the fight. And then about a minute later, within that same salvo, they were both exchanging in the center of the ring. Joe Smith Jr. tried to step forward again, threw himself a bit off balance, and Artur Beterbiev came up and hit him with a left uppercut, which didn't connect hugely, but then hit him with a right uppercut straight after that connected bang on the chin, and Joe Smith Jr. wobbled, and he hit the knee again. His feet, his legs was gone at this point. He was sort of stumbling about the place, and the referee decided to wave it off. So after 2 rounds, Artur Beterbiev becomes a unified champ. Now, what was very interesting about after this, and again, we'll take no credit away from Artur Beterbiev and give full credit to Joe Smith Jr. for trying to. He definitely came in with the game plan of winning. He didn't just go there to survive. He did actually go to win. So you got to give him props for that. But he just wasn't in the league of Artur Beterbiev. And I did say in the previous video that Artur's overall experience as a boxer, his amateur pedigree, his ring IQ, all of it would ultimately be too much, and it just ended up being way too much, a lot quicker than I thought it would. But yeah, the right guy won at the end. Yeah, now interestingly, after the fight, Artur Beterbiev was asked what does he want next, and it's weird, because you would think on a top rank card where Bob Arum has continuously stated that his next fight will be against Anthony Yarde in October, the commentator, the analyst, question guy, I don't even know what you want to call him, the post-fight interviewer, there you go. He asked him, sort of, well, Anthony Yarde's in the ring, but there's also Dimitri Bivol. Like, what would you prefer? And I thought, well, that's weird, because normally you don't really get that. You don't get like the whole team pushing one narrative, but then the interviewer decides to kind of go his own way. But I thought, okay, I like that. And then he said, oh, well, unifications is kind of, I guess, what interests me at this point. So then the guy goes, oh, so do you want Anthony Yarde next, or do you want undisputed? He says, I want to unify. I want undisputed. I want to be undisputed. Now, it's there on camera. So for everything that Bob Arum said with regards to, oh, like, nobody knows who Bivol is and blah, blah, blah. Well, his 3-belt champion has just told you what he wants next. And he told the entire world. If you say that no one knows Bivol, if they, quote unquote, know Beterbiev at this point, he stated, I want undisputed, in front of however many million people watch the fight on ESPN or ESPN Plus, whatever it was in the States, and however many people stayed up to watch it over here in the UK, and probably who's watching it now as I'm recording this, because it's now being replayed on Sky Sports. So yeah, I mean, Bob, there's nowhere for you to really hide on this one. All of the smack talk about the zone that he's had over the last couple days, especially the big Frank Warren interview we had the other day, where he was, downplaying all the numbers and whatnot. I mean, it's hard to really, stick to that narrative. I mean, we have to think about one thing, and if for nothing else, we have to say this: Canelo Alvarez is the most known boxer in the world outside of Europe, right? That's categorically true at this point. Anthony Joshua is probably Europe and Africa, and Canelo is, the Americas and I guess those other regions in between. And maybe even, I guess, some of the Asia, Kazakhstan and those places because of Triple G. Now, his pay-per-view in the US did about 600,000 or so for DAZN and some of their other supporting platforms that hosted it as a pay-per-view. When's the last time Bob put on a pay-per-view where 600,000 people watched it? Matter of fact, I'm trying to think the last time he put on the pay-per-view. The last time he put on the pay-per-view was Terence Crawford and Sean Porter, actually, which did what, 149,000 or something like that. So Canelo did 4 times, your last pay-per-view with this quote unquote no name. So realistically, this person who beat Canelo should now at least be known by those 600,000 people, right? So how is he now not credible to be a next opponent for your champion Beterbiev? See, when you break down all of the quotes in it, they just don't make sense. because I'm pretty sure that Bivol is a lot more well known than Joe Smith Jr. is, who's pretty much only known in New York and the tri-state area, I would assume. And he's probably a lot more well known than Artur Beterbiev, because again, he's fought the most recognizable name in the sport of boxing. Beterbiev, for all of the great wins he's had, has never fought anyone that was like a marquee attraction, so to speak. So how can he not be credible? How can he not be a viable opponent because nobody knows him? It's you know, every time you listen to Bob nowadays, it's actually cringeworthy. But yeah, putting that aside, because that may come in a different video, the point is, your champion has now said what he wants. He wants undisputed. So whatever agreement you think you got with Frank Warren about Anthony Yarde, to be honest, like, no one's particularly caring for that right now. And if I was Anthony Yarde, I would not be taking that fight off of no 10-month layoff out of the ring. Like, it's suicide at this point. The guy still seems fresh enough. There's not really any real signs of wear and tear. Yeah, Yarde's got a great punch, but he doesn't have the same kind of work rate. He doesn't have the same ring IQ, the same savvy, and I don't think his power is the same as Beterbiev's, because Yarde has very explosive power, which drains the energy and drains your gas tank, where Beterbiev just has that natural, God-given thudding hard power that you don't even have to load up on shots, which means that, like, stamina wise, he's definitely going to be the better of the two, and he's not exactly just going to stand there and make it a slugfest and give you all of the opportunities to win. So if I was them, I would kibosh that for the time being. Take another couple of fights, like step those levels up, like get in there with some actual decent opponents that can prepare you for that top level, and so you can stay at that level, and leave Beterbiev to like end of 2023 when he's just about to be turning 39. Like, at that point you might get him. But I mean, if it happens, I'm gonna make sure I get tickets, because I need to see that in person. But I don't have any high hopes for Yarde in that one at all. But yeah, what else? Oh, Tyson Fury is allegedly not allowed in the US anymore due to his links with Kinahan. I don't know exactly what the story is on that, but if that is the case, I mean, well, I guess it doesn't matter too much, apart from, I guess, wanting to go out there to party. There was no more fights for him out there. Like, there's no more American heavyweights for him to fight, or anyone that the American public is going to be interested in. So more than likely, the rest of his fights would have to be within the UK or, you know, Saudi or Europe anyway. So I guess it's not really that big of a deal. But maybe it is. Maybe he just likes the life out there. Who knows? But yeah. Let me leave it there, because as I said, there's not really much else to go over. And yeah, thanks for watching. Oh, sorry, before I forget, so I've been asked a few times about like the intro for, you know, the hardcore casual stuff and, you know, Femme Files and whatnot. Now, some of you may know this, some of you may not, but yeah, I used to do music back in the day. I won't say I've officially retired, but yeah, I've been on a long-term hiatus, and that's one of my old tunes from, I think, 2014. So what I decided to do to finish off this video, I'm just gonna let the track run so you guys can hear it in its entirety. Now, remember, this was a different time, so if I say anything that offends anyone, it was 8 years ago. Like, I'm not gonna apologize, but you can just go in there with that warning in mind. But yeah, I hope you enjoy it. Let me know what you think.
This is what it's come to. It's like I've been backed up into a corner. It's been a long time coming. The arrival's been pending, and they're wondering if I could really deliver. Well, we are about to find out. Boy, yeah. I've been doing this for a long time. Got me wondering now if I'm past prime. Can I still write an ill rhyme? Stacking bars on lines, looking up, can I still climb? Cause I got better with time, but ain't age well. Old mind, old soul, like I ain't well. And I don't know about the work that they sell. Taking a bite out of the game now, it tastes stale. Gone off with fruity tarts that can't bake well. But the shit they make can seem to make sales. The industry way wrong on their lame sales. It's like the gayer you are, the further you get. But I refuse to be at the bottom. No shit. I won't back up like my reverse broken. We all know the outcome, so you can stop hoping now. I came to show what I'm about. It's time to play. I came to move. I came to show my time is now. Now you believe in yet? Maybe I'ma make it. Maybe I'm not. In time we'll see. But you know I'm the truth. I don't care if you agree. Go back in. I'm better than anyone. But who better than me? I'm here to make change in the industry. Cause so far these 1 or 2 P's don't interest me. We can air your feelings if you disagree. But even the strongest roots can't save a tree. When that wind blow, you better duck down. Cause I'm holding more than the crown when I let go. Half these dudes claiming they the best, never been tested. And I'm not one to ever be bested. Man, I could give a fuck how you feel about it, but I'd rather give a fuck less if you doubt it. I never been the most liked, but been around it. Cause these man know I've been the truth since my sperm sprouted. And I'm still growing as my art forms. Divided opinions on whether my heart's worn. All you need to know is that I get it in wholeheartedly, heartless with my art. Then I came to show what I'm about. It's time to play. I came to move. I came to show my time is now. Now what I got to prove. Maybe I'ma make it. Maybe I'm not. You still don't believe, but you know I'm the truth. I don't care if you agree. I'm saying that I'm better than anyone. But who better than me? On my last leg, still running the fastest. Got my eye in the scope, still gunning for artists. And as soon as I spot a moving target, rest in peace till he departed. Cause I'm as raw with my speech when I'm saying shit as I am in between the sheets when I'm laying a bitch. My wordplay's fucked. You ain't even know it. Like I came hard, took off the condom and kept going. I don't know if they really knowing that these bars are throwaways. I'm just showing. Cause only the strong survive a 9 to 5 mindset. So the grind set different, change of view like high def. Before I was dreaming of money and fame, but strong days I see the weekend. All I wanna hear now. Bass is getting hard, bass is getting in, head first, no foreskin. I came to show what I'm